Hello everybody, welcome back to Jack's Vex and Safety. And today we are on the workbench yet again. If you've taken some time to look at the cover picture of the video you are watching, which I know for some people they don't, you will know that we have pair of Eureka Airspeed Golds. This first one is the one that's in worse condition. Found this about 3 weeks ago on the side of the road. The original dust bin, which I have over here, had a broken bin latch, and apparently somebody before me got to the back of the vacuum and cut off the cord, which is not ideal, but I was able to put another cord on, and now the thing runs. However, as of recording this, it is Wednesday, the 18th, I believe. Let me check that real quick. It is the 19th, actually. So, the 18th, Tuesday, March 18th, 2025, I found another Airspeed Gold sitting on the side of the road, too. It was in much better shape than this one is. So, I've made the decision. We are going to take part one of this little gold rush. We're going to part out this Airspeed Gold, the one that I found 3 weeks ago, that was made the 32nd week of 2012. Interestingly enough, the one I found just yesterday was made this 32nd week of 2013. So, a year difference. However, I don't see a use of having two of them, especially since one of them doesn't have any tools with it. And also, I have an Airspeed bagless already that has all the tools with it. However, the motor needs to be replaced. So, start off with the dust bin. The actual bin itself came off of another Airspeed bagless AS1000 that I parted out because it did not have a filter, no hose, no tools, and I already had one in a lot better shape, so I kept the dust bin and threw the rest of it away. Evidently, I should have also kept the motor on it. But the lid to this is original to this Airspeed Gold. That filter is kind of nasty, so we'll wash that out off camera when I get the chance to. However, I will keep it. This is the separator for, I believe, this matching bin for this Airspeed bagless it came off of. You can tell it's the original dust bin for an Airspeed bagless, because if we look at the bin that came with the Airspeed Gold, you will see that the label is completely different, and it is a lot bigger and contains different models. On the Airspeed bagless, it says DC-17, DC-25, and DC-33. On Airspeed Gold dustbins, it says DC-25, DC-33, and DC-41. I think it's interesting that they did not put DC-40 on it. But since nobody really went for the DC-40, because the DC-40 was honestly not a great machine, it made sense to only include the higher end one. The brush roll in this one, the original brush roll, is currently in my Airspeed bagless because it was making a horrific noise even after I took it apart, cleaned it, and then grease the bearings, which tells me that the bearings in the original brush roll, which is not in this one, have seen enough of their life and need to be replaced. However, the brush roll that is currently inside here works perfectly fine. With that in mind, we're still going to remove these screws and take it out so it can go back into the vacuum it originally came from. I want to see if that even got in there. It did not. The nice thing about these older Airspeeds is that they are incredibly easy to take apart. 4 screws hold on the hood. 2 screws will remove the base from the motor assembly. These 2 screws hold on this lower hose portion. And after you remove the cover, the only thing you have to do to get to the belt and the brush roll is lift up. So we will save this and put it back in the Airspeed bagless because this brush roll is good. So is this belt. I have no use for this filter cover. And I might check the condition of the filter on the other 2 Airspeeds and see if this is in better shape. There is no strong, powerful odor with this filter, so I think I might hold on to it. I will now remove the hose and loosen the cord. The nice thing about these is that they are easy to disassemble if you know what you're doing. Some very odd ways they are put together. The hose itself has clean this thing. The hose itself is held on by one tab right here. If you lift that on this tab, the hose comes out and it's now disconnected. What we do next involves removing a whole bunch of clips. Actually, we have to get to these 2 screws first. Then we can remove the clips. I just find my T20 screw bit. Making sure it was set on the right setting. I have a certain setting that I use for vacuums so that I don't accidentally strip out the screws. Take one of these screwdrivers and gently find a way to get this piece. Usually it's a lot easier than what it looks like, but I guess this one just wants to be ornery. So now we got this cover off. So unless I break something on the other one, it will not be kept. And now, this hose clip. Twists right out, comes right out. You know, I was thinking to myself, since I'm only starting to see these exact vacuums now, I think that sort of shows the old Airspeed quality compared to the new ones. Because I personally like these older Airspeed bagless vacs compared to the newer ones. I broke the head off of one of these screws because I had my screwdriver set the wrong way, and I couldn't remember which one, but it is this one. It doesn't matter right now because the vacuum is being parted out anyways. There are two of these little clips, and those clips hold on the spine to the rest of the vacuum. Very interesting way of doing things. However, I've yet to see one of those clips fail, and I've seen my fair share of these older Airspeeds. So now the spine should just lift right off. And it does. And then that comes off too because I've loosened the screws. Looks like one of my wire nuts went flying. There it is. I'll save that for later. Take out some of this wiring stuff. This holds the switch in place. And this is the switch. Relatively common switch to have on vacuums. This spare cord came off of a Kenmore. and the release pedal. This one is damaged because I had no clue how I could get this off. But now I do, so I will not be risking damaging another foot release switch in the future. Now what we have resembles more of a old Hoover Elite style machine with the spine taken off. Because the cord is disconnected, the power switch, or in case of the old Elites, the lever, is also disconnected. All you really have is just the motor and the floor nozzle. Both of which are actually pretty easy to remove on both this and the older Elites. You know, a lot of people don't like the Airspeed series as a whole, and to some extent, I agree with that. However, I find that these older bagless Airspeeds, specifically the AS1000 to the AS1009, the ones that had the DCF21 filter in the dust cup, I don't think they are terrible machines. They have a pleated filter as the premotor filter, which doesn't mean a lot, because a lot of vacuums have that. However, the premotor filter on these seem to be a lot more effective than on ones like the Maxima, the Optima, and other similar older Eurekas. They also do clean fairly well when the filters themselves are relatively clean. And because this actually has a shroud to protect the filter from all that dirt, they can go quite a bit longer than some of the other machines in terms of clogging. Sure. They are bagless, so they do spew out a lot of dust when you empty them. However, I don't think that these particular Airspeeds deserve some of the hate they tend to get. Trying to figure out the best way to get this off. I see. There we go. So now this is out. I'll save this base because I have seen these bases break on at least one of them. Probably due to use and abuse, which is not often for bases to break at the real studs. But I have seen it happen. The first ever Airspeed I got was an Airspeed Gold Rewind. Had a newer Eureka logo, where it was the small font without the exclamation mark going under it. And I think it was discontinued when Medea, or whoever currently owns Eureka, took over. I actually used that as a daily driver for a long time, because it was quiet, pretty strong, and of course, at the time, I was fond of bagless machines. It also had all of its tools, although the base was broken down here, so it didn't push very well. I'll wash some of these parts, and I will decide if I want to keep them or not. But I eventually replaced that the base on that Airspeed Gold Rewind with the base off of that the base off of that second Airspeed Bagless I found. The one that was missing parts and didn't have a pre-motor filter on it. And now we go on a search for the missing stud. There. There's one thing I applaud these old Eurekas for having. It is a spring-loaded handle release pedal. Something that you wish you saw more of. On brands like Bissell and even a number of Hoovers, the handle release pedals are not spring-loaded by a metal spring, rather by a piece of plastic. I haven't really seen them break on the Hoover models, but on the Bissells, they break all the time. Lastly, maybe. It also should be noted that these older Eurekas have a lot thicker plastic. Sometimes that's a good thing, but in the case of trying to get this lower hose out, it can be a little stressful. I will clean this out. And lastly, the motor. Little too deep of a reach for this for a drill, so we'll just use a typical screwdriver. Now the motor cover is off, and we have access to our motor. This motor right here is a lot similar to some other motors used in other machines, including a number of modern Hoovers. While not exactly the same, they are all branded by Sip Sanderson. This one does not want to come off. There we go. Now our motor is out. Pretty good shape. And we'll take the time to clean this up a little bit before it goes into the Airspeed bagless, but I will do that off camera. But it is pretty good shape for a vacuum that is 13 years old. Especially a cheap Walmart bag. Gotta remove 3 more screws, and I'll have just about all I need. My bad. 4. It's a little dusty, but I've seen worse on newer machines. I like that. And there you have it. The parting out and disassembly of a Eureka AS1000 series bagless vacuum. Next up is the refurbishment of the other Airspeed Gold. And then after that, a refurbishment, or more like a motor replacement, and probably just a motor replacement only, of my Airspeed bagless. I'm Jack's Vax and Safety. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next rendition of the Workbench.